how we can use state. And the special thing really is that when you update your state, the component function gets executed again, and therefore the latest JSX snapshot gets used by React, gets compared to the previous snapshot, and the UI is updated where needed. Now here, however, the goal was to basically get this text into this first post component. And of course, that's not happening right now. One problem we're facing here is that this state is inside the new post component. That's great, but we don't need it there. Instead, we need it in the posts list component so that we can set this entered text as a value for this body. Now, how do we get the state from new post to posts list? Well, an obvious solution would be to import use state from React in the posts list component and register the state there. We could have the entered body here with help of use state. And this should use object destructuring here to get the entered body and the set entered body state updating function. Now we have the state in the component where we need it, and we could set this body to the value that's currently stored in entered body so that our current state value is output down there. That's amazing and great, and theoretically that's a good approach, but now we have the state in the right place, but the event is in a different component. So how can we solve this puzzle? We either have the state or the event in the wrong component. Well, what we have to do here, and what we already started doing, is something that's called lifting the state up. If you have state that's manipulated in component A, but needed in component B, you should lift the state up to a component that has access to both components that need the state. So in this case, it's the posts list component that needs the state to pass it to post as a value for the body prop, and it's also the posts list component that has access to the new post component, which is the place where the state should be manipulated. Now what we can do in this case is we can get rid of the state here in new post and get rid of the event handler function and the use state import as well. And we could now simply use this props feature, so this props object which we get by React automatically, to set this onChange event listener prop equal to, for example, props.onBodyChange. Now this prop name is up to you because you can set any props you want on your own components. With that prop being set like this on the onChange prop of text area, we can go to posts list, and on new post, we can now add the onBodyChange prop here to the new post component. And as a value, we can now again pass in a function that should be called when the text area changes. So when the change event occurs on the text area. In this case, for example, the body change handler, where we automatically get the event object as before, and where we then call set entered body equal to event.target.value, and it's then the body change handler function which is passed as a value to onBodyChange, to this prop. Now this might be confusing at first, but what I'm doing here is I'm passing this body change handler function to onBodyChange. So we're not executing it here. We have no parentheses. Instead, I'm using this function, bodyChangeHandler, as a value that's passed to the onBodyChange prop. Now in the new post component, I'm then in the end forwarding that value that's received on the onBodyChange prop as a value to the onChange prop of text area. So we simply pass that function, that bodyChangeHandler function, through the new post component with help of the onBodyChange prop to the text area component. And this should all be quite a bit less confusing if you keep in mind that functions can be used just like any other kind of value in JavaScript. So therefore, in the end here, we wire up this body change handler function to this change event on text area. That's why we also still get this event object. And with that, we can now update the state in the component where we need it, whilst still setting the listener in the component where the event occurs. And of course, we can also do that with the author input. There we can add the default onChange prop to add a change event listener to that input as well. And for example, expect to get a function value on the onAuthor change prop. Again, this prop name is up to you because it's your component. But with this prop chosen here, instead of new post, we now have to use the same prop name here on the new post component in posts list, and then copy that body change handler function and name this copy author change handler, for example, to then pass this author change handler function as a value to the onAuthor change prop. And then again, that's picked up and used as a value for the onChange prop inside of that new post component. Now we just need to register a second state slice for that author name, and that is something you can do. You're not limited to one single state per component. Instead, you can have as many state values as you need. So here we can simply call useState again to register a second state value for this component. And this also is an empty string initially, but then we get back two values again, or one value, one array with two elements to be precise. That's my entered author and then my updating function, which could be called setEnteredAuthor. And whenever any of these two states changes, this postslist component function will be executed again. In that case, the entire JSX code down there is evaluated again, which means that any nested component functions are also executed again, and that leads to precisely the behavior we want, because that means that this post, where we pass our updated state values as values for its props to that post component function, this post component function will also be executed again if posts list executes again. And therefore these updated values, which we pass as values to props to this component, will be reflected in the JSX code of that component, and hence the UI will be updated accordingly as well. So that's how UI updates work with help of React and state. So therefore here I now want to pass my entered author as a value for the author prop for this first post component. And then here in author change handler, I call setEnteredAuthor and pass event target value as a value. With that done, we just have to go to new post and get rid of this paragraph with entered body in there, because we no longer have the entered body state in that component. And if you then save everything, you see that this component is empty by default. Which should make sense because our default states for entered body and entered author are empty strings. But as soon as I start typing something here into these input fields, you see that the component down there gets updated dynamically with every keystroke because of state and because we lifted state up into a place where we can update and use it.